Yeah, thank you. The largest argument to date actually has been one of scope of practice, which we don't feel has a whole lot of merit. As you review the legislation, you'll see that in response to this concern, we went back and added language to the legislation several years ago to ensure that a doctor of chiropractic operates within their scope of practice and a medical doctor operates within their scope of practice, and nothing allows them to leave that. Short of that, there really haven't been any substantive arguments against it, so I hope we can find a way to move this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Virginia Donahue, Executive Director, 1 point for college. On point, 1. I put an E in there.
You only get 1 point now. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
You're right.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here, and I will summarize what it is we've come to ask of you. I'm Ginny Donahue. I'm the founder of On Point for College. I started out as a volunteer helping young people from a homeless shelter to get into college for 8 years. Now 16, in 1999, it stole my heart, and I left my corporate job and started On Point for College. It's been 16 years. We've now placed 5,800 people in over 200 colleges and universities. Our biggest bump in size came in 2012 when HESC gave us funding. It was College Access Challenge Grant federal funding that moved through HESC. And because we were a single source provider, we became a HESC partner, we're able to double in size in Syracuse, open an operation in Utica, and partner in New York City with Goddard Riverside Community Center in Manhattan and New Settlement Apartments in the Bronx to give them both funding and guidance on how to do a retention program. I just want to explain how we're different. There's a lot of college access programs in the state. We work with people 17 to 29. We receive a lot of referrals from the high schools, but we don't work in the high schools. We only work in community centers. We work in 27 community centers, boys and girls clubs, settlement houses, homeless shelters, refugee centers, libraries, municipal housing. 60% of the students that we meet are not in high school. Most of them are high school graduates, or they got an education somewhere else, so they don't have a guidance counselor available to them anywhere else. 30% of them have no parent in their life, and so they're very, very vulnerable. But despite all of these obstacles that they're facing, 70% of them, and most of them are community college students, return for their sophomore year, which is clearly 10% above the average community college student, despite all the obstacles that they're facing. I just want to tell you a couple of things we do that most programs don't. We have an orientation that teaches them the ropes before they go to college, because most of them have been the first one in their family to go. We give them some college supplies. We provide them transportation in New York State all the way through college, either with a bus ticket or 180 mentors, including ex-Mayor Tom Young, who drove 190,000 miles last year to take inner city kids to and from college. The beginning of every semester, we go to 78 different colleges, and we sit across them in the cafeteria, and we make sure they've gotten their books and their food, and we introduce them to the campus angel, a volunteer that helps them on campus. We've done root canals, winter coats, eyeglasses, and we had so many students that were homeless that I went to my alma mater, Lemoyne College, that allows them for the last 15 years, not just kids from Lemoyne, and even kids from New York City, to live there for free for the summer if they have nowhere else to live. We do job placement, we help people with certificate programs, and Police Chief Frank Fowler said that there is no organization in the city of Syracuse that has decreased the violence like On Point for College. I want you to know we've been good stewards of the money that was given to us through HESC. We brought more than $1 million from national foundations. We're instrumental in teaming up with 3 community colleges in SUNY Oswego to bring $2.8 million First in the World grant. We're the only community-based organization in the country that got funding for that. Since we got the funding from HESC, we placed over 3,000 students we enrolled them in college, which brought $13 million of tuition to SUNY and CUNY. Remember, most of these students weren't in high school, so they couldn't have gotten there any other way, and $17 million worth of Pell. Over the lifetime, if they get an associate's degree, it will bring $1.2 billion of taxable income, or with a bachelor's, $1.6 billion. The funding for this grant ends in August of 16, and we are asking for your support to help us to replace this $1.2 million, part of which for Utica, for Syracuse, Utica, and for New York City, so that we can continue on to do this fine work. We also know that we do know how to replicate. We're reaching people that no one else is reaching, and we are open, given additional funding, to be able to share this with other locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Yes,
Hi, Jenny.
Mrs. Durfee.
I know that in addition to the places that you work right now, you've been called by people all over the country to come and teach them what it is you do, taking what's called dislocated students and addressing that population. Can you talk a little bit about where you've gone and who you've worked with?
Yes, thank you. The Department of Ed has an affinity group run by Greg Darniter, and I was asked to do the presentation with one other person for disconnected youth for the country, to talk about how to help refugees, court-involved youth, homeless youth, to be able to not only get into college, but how you can help them to make it through college. Also helping to develop materials for 14 states through the Southern Regional Education Board. Right now I'm helping to develop materials for guidance counselors in 14 states and how to work with disconnected or opportunity youth. And there was an article in the Chronicle of Higher Ed this year, and it talked about, the only CBO it talked about in the article was On Point for Colleges, setting the standard for trying to help homeless students to be able to make it through college.
Wow. Amazing. One of the other things I know you do is that once someone has gotten in college, you're getting them through, and then there's the next step is finding a job. Can you talk a little bit about what you do in that regard?
I'm going to ask Sam Rouser, the Deputy Executive Director, to answer that.
Good evening. The program that you speak about, the On Point for Jobs program that we have at On Point, is developed in the last about 7 years. And what we've done is we've looked at our students that have graduated from college and looked at how can we help them find employment. Being first-generation college students, they haven't in the past had access or anyone in the family that was connected and knew how to do resume writing, that knew how to do interview skills. So we work with them to help them develop their resume writing, their interview skills. We have over 250 companies. I think you guys have a list in your packet of companies that we've been working with, and we were able to place over 300 students in summer jobs and internships in Syracuse alone. So using our development board for On Point for Jobs, using the companies in the community, we've been able to successfully help these students transition not just into college, not just through college, but to employment and finding permanent employment, internships, and summer jobs.
As you expanded from upstate to New York City, did you find any differences? Are there additional challenges, or is it really the same?
Well, Sam took New York City, and I was in Utica most of the time, so I'm going to take that answer.
You know, the transportation is different in New York City.
Sure.
And that was one of the things that, you know, one of the services that we provide for students in Syracuse is we have about 160 volunteers that help us transport students to and from college, because we found that some of our students would come home for Thanksgiving and they had no ride to get back to school. So we had volunteers that would drive them. And so when we went to New York City, we thought we'd have somebody drive, but no one had a license. So we decided that we better get train tickets and bus tickets, and we used that. So that was one of the big differences that we found helping the students, but the population and the need was the same. And we found, you know, good friends in Goddard, Riverside, and New Settlement Apartments that had the same heart, that had the same drive, and were willing to help the students in the same way. And it's been a tremendous working relationship where part of what we do is we visit our students while they're on campus to develop that relationship. And for our partners in New York City, they visit all of our students from upstate. And for when their students come upstate, we visit all of their students upstate. And so that way, you know, it saves on us having to drive to New York City and them having to drive up. If I have a student in New York City that needs a book, I can call our friends in New York City and they'll take care of it. If they have a student at Ithaca College, they can call us and we'll help them out. So the partnership is working really, really well.
Yeah. And Utica is different in that 61% are refugees in the city of Utica, and 90% are commuters, whereas in Syracuse, only 40%, it's about 50-50 commuters and resident students, but the refugees particularly do not want to leave, so we have you know, it's always a little bit tougher. We find the students have a 20% increased chance of staying in college if we can get them out of town, usually, because of the transportation issues, because the families are so vulnerable that if they're not in town, they're not constantly being asked to stay away from school to take care of family issues from families that are very vulnerable.
I just want to congratulate you on the success you have had at this point. And, you know, I really support all the opportunity programs, but I have never found one that was quite as comprehensive, as complete as what you do. And it just proves that students can succeed no matter what their background or anything else, as long as they have the right supports behind them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just one quick question. Thank you. Very detailed analysis in here. Separating out the cost of tuition or going to school, what is your estimated cost for serving a student from your program?
Serving student, it tends to be about $1,250 from the first day we meet them in a community center till we get them to the end of their freshman year, and about $350 for each year after that.
And how many of your students get beyond year one with you?
What I can tell you is we've put 5,800 in the pipeline. Most of them are still in there. 1,100 have come out the other end and are graduates already. There's about a 30% that stop out, but because we have the jobs program, what we find is when they stop out, it's not usually because of academics, it's because of life on life's terms. Somebody in the family loses a job or gets sick or has a baby. But because we have the jobs portion, we're able to get them into like certificate programs for like manufacturing, which is all about computers, where you can make $16 an hour, or we can get them into a CNA program where within a year the nursing home has teachers on campus for them to get their LPN. Because we continue on with them, we can find other ways for them to get a family supporting job.
Thank you very much for your work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Questions, any
Any
further?
other?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Wanda Williams, DC 37, Director of Legislation. You were hiding.
As quickly as I can.
She came out of the, now you know why.
Without
she's so good.
stumbling.
She just comes in and disappears.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Wanda Williams.
Yes.
I am testifying on behalf of my executive director, who unfortunately, with the time, had to head back to the city. Henry Garrido, executive director of DC 37. You have our testimony, and so I won't spend very much time elaborating on its contents, but wanted to highlight a couple of things. First and foremost, I wanted to thank the chairman and the members of the committee for your stamina, most of all, being here at this late hour. Appreciate been here all day with you, and most of you have been here for that time, so I want to say thank you. I also want to say that as it relates to the governor's proposal to shift the cost of the state share of funding for CUNY hospital, CUNY system, we are opposed to that. We believe that the state should keep its commitment. We also think that it should be a delinkage as it relates to tying the collective bargaining agreement to that. You heard CUNY's fiscal person talk about 300 being the number to settle those contracts. As you heard from PSC, their 240 is last year's number for them. Our number as DC 37 is 149, so we think it's over that given their lag of 1 year, and we think that that should be segregated out and monies appropriated, not conditional on receiving those dollars. Also, that was mentioned earlier today by some, the Fight for 15 exclusion for CUNY employees. We represent 122,000 members, 10,000 of which are in CUNY, 7,000 of whom don't make $15 an hour. And so it is important for our members who are college assistants, office assistants, custodial aides, accountants, architects and engineers, asbestos handlers, data processing personnel, and supervisors and engineers. It's important for them, many of whom are single females, heads of household. You heard 30,000 on average for a family. Even as union households, some of these people are working part-time and make less than that in terms of their median income, 17 to 23. So we think it's important that they be included SUNY, and I think you mentioned, Senator, being a stepchild. We feel the same, and we think that we should all be treated the same, and we ask that if SUNY is getting the 15, we should get the same. Maintenance of effort, the bill that was vetoed last year, the governor mentioned that he wanted to deal with that issue in the budget. We advocate that, and we think that the time is now. We ask each, the Senate and the Assembly, to put that in their one House bill. Would be nice if we can get in a 21-day amendment, but we leave that to you, and we're hopeful that our commitment together will get us where we need to be. Lastly, I just wanted to mention the 5-year tuition increase that ends this year. We think that that should be it for a while. And we don't think that we should extend it, as the governor said he wanted to do. We don't think that that should happen. And so with that, I'll end my testimony. If there's any questions, I'm willing to take them. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you for the testimony.
As always.
No problem. Thank all of you. Appreciate it.
SUNY Student Assembly, Thomas Mastro, President, Melissa Cathan, Vice President, Nicholas Simons, Director of Legislative Affairs, Mark Cohen, Chief of Staff. All 5 of you in 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Mastro, and I'm a senior at Binghamton University studying human development and education. I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the president of the Student Assembly and as the student trustee for the SUNY board. Along with my colleagues today, we will talk about 5 key issues which have a significant impact on students across our system. The absolute need for a fair, equitable, and predictable tuition plan, an increase in base aid for community colleges, more attention paid to disability accommodations, an increase in funding for child care centers, and the reinstatement of tuition assistance for graduate students. As you heard this morning from Chancellor Zinfer and myself, a renewal of New York SUNY 2020 is absolutely vital. We need to ensure that our students can plan ahead with their families. We need to ensure that their tuition dollars are staying on their respected campuses. We need to ensure that tuition is not consistently raised to the maximum threshold. And we need to ensure that students are consulted on tuition decisions. Perhaps most significantly, we need to ensure that the state is paying its fair share such that the burden of higher education does not fall solely on the shoulders of students. Since the enactment of New York SUNY 2020, SUNY campuses have been able to hire 919 new faculty members and approve over 350 new academic programs. It is because of this incredible advancements that the students voted 59-4-1 in favor of renewing New York SUNY 2020. I yield now to Nicholas Simons, our Director of Legislative Affairs, to discuss the importance of increased funding for our child care centers throughout the state.
Thank you, President Mastro. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Simons, and I'm a junior at the University at Albany, and I study American politics and Spanish. And I'd like to begin by saying that on-campus child care and the funding of such services could be the most important issue to a single parent who's attending one of our SUNY campuses. One of the most significant issues facing our non-traditional students is the inadequacies surrounding that child care center funding. And these SUNY child care centers provide not only an important resource to our students, faculty, staff, members of the community, they also give students applied learning experiences. 1/4 of undergraduates in the SUNY system are raising children, and of those, 43% are single mothers and 11% are single fathers. This growing demographic of parents exemplifies the diversity in our system, and with the governor cutting community college child care again this year to the tune of $1.1 million, the legislature need not only reinstate these funds, but transcend them as well. With 28 centers at community colleges and 22 centers at state-operated campuses, SUNY's done the work to accommodate these non-traditional students, and we ask that the legislature follow suit and show these parents that the issue is important to the state as well. These students who take time to go back to school deserve a well-funded and well-staffed location to lead their children while they work to better themselves and provide for their family. And the state would be doing a great disservice to our colleagues if they did not seriously examine the restoration and the invigoration of these underfunded institutions. I myself attended daycare at Broome Community College in my infancy, and my sister attended daycare at Binghamton University. Our parents, both SUNY students and members of the community, utilize these institution services. As I stated, this could be the make or break issue for some parents who are debating whether or not to go back to school. And with that, the legislature should recognize the importance of this issue for our students. And I yield to our Vice President, Melissa Cathan from the University of Buffalo.
Thank you, Nicholas. And good evening. As stated, my name is Melissa Cathan, and I'm studying political science and management at the University at Buffalo. Newly accepted to SUNY Buffalo Law School, I would have appreciated the opportunity to apply for tuition assistance as a graduate student. Unfortunately, as Assemblywoman Maliatakis pointed out this morning, the program has been inactive since 2010. Graduate students are often overlooked, but we are making as strong as an effort as possible to ensure that their voices are heard. Our nearly 41,000 graduate students should have the same access to aid that any student pursuing his or her education has, whether they be undergraduate or graduate. During the life of Graduate TAP, 7,000 SUNY students took advantage of this program. Restoring the tuition assistance program for graduate students will incentivize more students to pursue a graduate degree and mitigate their burdens of debt. Speaking of underrepresented student populations, we recognize the gravity of disability accommodations. A student's opportunity to obtain an education must not be impeded by a campus's physical or structural insufficiencies. There are currently 23,000 students with disabilities enrolled across the SUNY system, 6.2% of community college students, and 4.4% of state-operated students. And these numbers are increasing annually. Our students with physical disabilities, invisible disabilities, and learning disabilities should have the resources they need on campus to ensure their success. Burgundy, a Fredonia student and advocate for students with disabilities, is able to seamlessly pursue her education at Fredonia because the school has accommodated her needs regarding accessible dorms, accessible classrooms, snow removal, among others. This should be the norm on all campuses, and we hope that the legislature will partner with SUNY in bringing additional resources to bear in support of this movement. I now yield to the Student Assembly's Chief of Staff, Mark Cohen, from the University at Albany.
Thank you, Vice President Cathan, and good evening. My name is Mark Cohen. I'm a senior in the BA MPA program at UAlbany's Rockefeller College, studying higher education policy and policy analytics. An issue which both we and SUNY administration have discussed here in the past is that of community college base aid. Be it a non-traditional student looking to continue their education or a new high school graduate looking to ease into the transition of college, community colleges provide endless opportunities for our students from all walks of life. It is also important to realize the significant economic impact community colleges have on surrounding communities. A recent NICAP study shows that community colleges contribute nearly $15 billion a year to their communities. For all the good that our community colleges do, all of the ways the students contribute back to their communities, they are grossly underfunded. The most updated information has only one of our 30 community colleges being funded at 33%. While the law holds that the state contributes up to 40%, the average contribution is far less. The proposal in the executive budget of a flat base operating per FTE of $2,597 would mean a year-to-year decrease in direct state support of nearly $21 million. Attending community college is becoming increasingly difficult for our students. The past budgets that have allocated $75 or $100 in raises have still left schools with deficit funding. This applies to most of the community colleges in our system. The days of students paying upwards of 40% cannot continue. Restoring sufficient funding to all campuses is not something we expect to achieve in just one session. However, this year needs to be the beginning of a new trend toward less of a burden on our students. Thank you.
We thank you for your time and attention this evening. At this time, we would look forward to answering your questions about these issues and others affecting the students of SUNY.
Thank you. Questions?
Just a comment, and I actually started out, my first elected position was that I served in the Student Assembly at SUNY Fredonia. So it's really great to see the students here today, and I think the fact that you ran for student government says a lot about you as individuals, about future leaders. You were very well prepared today. You were very articulate, very well spoken, and thorough. And so we appreciate that you took the time, and I would just say to you, keep up the great work, and I know that you'll be successful when you begin your careers. We're very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now to close. CUNY Student Senate, the Vice Chair of Legislative Affairs. I'm not even trying to pronounce his name. I can't do Smith. I sure as I can't doing this one. Well, are we there? I think we have it. By George, I think it's over. Did we get their paper?
No, that's it.
We never got their paper? Thank you very much. We will adjourn till tomorrow at 9:30 to finish it all.